Good morning. I'm reading the book of Exodus this morning. I'm reading about the plagues that God brought upon the Egyptians before they let the Israelites go out of bondage in Egypt. And you remember the first plague that God brought was the plague of blood. And he turned all the waters in Egypt into blood. And Pharaoh called upon his enchanters, his sorcerers, his magicians. And they were able to turn water to blood. Well, when Pharaoh saw that, he said, my guys can do this too, no big deal. They had to wait 7 days, and God reversed that. Then came the frogs. Out come the frogs out of the streams and the ponds and the river and everywhere, and just filled everything. And once again, Pharaoh called on his enchanters, his wizards, and they were able to do that as well. So Pharaoh wasn't terribly impressed. After the frogs came the lice. And the lice were on everything, on man and on beast. And so once again, Pharaoh is going to prove your God is just performing parlor tricks. My guys can do this too. Your God is not as powerful as my magicians. You remember they were able to throw their staves down and to cause them to turn into snakes like Aaron was. But they can't with the lice. And it says in Exodus chapter 8 and verse 18, "And the magicians did so with their enchantments to bring forth lice, but they could not. So there were lice upon man and upon beast." It's interesting to me, they didn't tell Pharaoh beforehand, we can't do this. They went into their mumbo jumbo expecting for lice to come, just like the frogs and the blood had come. But they can't do it. And they tell him, verse 19, the magician said unto Pharaoh, "This is the finger of God." And Pharaoh's heart was hardened, and he hearkened not unto them, as the Lord had said. These magicians, like a dog on a chain, only had so far that they could go. God gives Satan some abilities and powers and some leeway, but there's only so far that he can go, and they had hit the end of their chain. In the book of 2 Timothy, it's fascinating to me, the Apostle Paul tells us that the latter times are going to be similar to the days of Egypt in some ways. In chapter 3 and verse 1, he says, "This know also that in the last days perilous times shall come. For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good, traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasures more than lovers of God, having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof. From such turn away. For of this sort are they which creep into houses and lead captive silly women laden with sins, led away with diverse lusts, ever learning and never able to come to the knowledge of the truth. Now, as Jannes and Jambres withstood Moses, so do these also resist the truth. Men of corrupt minds reprobate concerning the faith." He names them in the New Testament. I find that really interesting. Jannes and Jambres, these are the two head honchos out of those magicians that were in Pharaoh's court. And he says in the latter times there's going to come men like these, and they are going to try to lead people astray. He says they're going to creep into homes, and they're going to prey upon those people who are ever learning and yet never able to come to the knowledge of the truth. And he says that they're going to do the same thing they did. They are going to try to withstand the truth just like they withstood Moses. So do these resist truth. They're going to be against the truth and goodness no matter what. It says they are men of corrupt minds. They are reprobate concerning the faith. So Paul wants us to look back to Egypt and to remember these magicians. They had some power. And when you look around our world today and you see these people that withstand the truth of Jesus and that resist the truth of Jesus and try to pervert it and corrupt it, just remember this. They're like a dog on a chain. They've only got so much leash. And it says in verse 9, "But they shall proceed no further, for their folly shall be manifest unto all men, as theirs was also." Their foolishness is going to come out, and you're going to be able to see it. Just keep on trusting Jesus and stay away from these fellas like Jannes and Jambres. Don't be impressed with power. Be impressed with Jesus. God bless.